Hello Teen Talk, it's Alisha here. And today I'm talking about one of my favorite books. I read it last year, and it's called These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. So I always feel like I get on here and rave for like 10 minutes about whatever book I'm enjoying, and that's what it always ends up, and that's what also this will be, so warning, basically. Okay, so These Violent Delights is a Romeo and Juliet retelling set in 1920 Shanghai amidst high tensions of political turmoil and gangs. The title comes from the Shakespeare quote by Friar, "These violent delights have violent ends, and in their triumph die like fire and powder, which as they kiss consume." And that quote basically means their love for each other is so strong, it's greedy, and it's going to make them sick, and everyone around them is going to be in danger. So let's head into the rest of the podcast with that. Okay, so to explain a bit further, the book begins with Juliet Kai, the main character, returning to her glittering city, Shanghai, after going to school in America for a few years. She's 18 years old, back to assume her role as the heir of one of the two most powerful gangs of the city. The decades-old blood feud that has rivaled the two continues to plague Shanghai and all of its citizens, including Juliet. She hates the White Flowers, the rival gang, for the Scarlets they kill day after day, and the violence that falls, but also for Roma Montague, her first love, as well as the boy who betrayed her. But something runs through the streets of Shanghai, far more ominous than a blood feud. Whispers of a monster begin, of insects and something darker controlling the city. Roma and Juliet might have to form an unlikely alliance to save their city from the threat as they attempt to not claw each other's throats out, as well as their own. Okay, so I'm sure many of you are familiar with the star-crossed love of Romeo and Juliet, blah, blah, blah. And the story basically takes the best parts of the original, and it makes it so much better, and actually, maybe a little controversial, but I honestly think it's a disservice to the book to just, simplify it down to a retelling. When I first read the book, I didn't even go in with knowing that, and I actually only realized once I saw Roma and Juliet next to each other, and I was like, wait, that sounds familiar. So obviously you don't need to have read Romeo and Juliet, and it just takes the baseline story and adds so much more depth. And it does have a few moments where it nods to the original story, but it's not at all necessary. And again, the story stands really, really well on its own. So it's not only a wonderful retelling, but it includes a really good commentary and has amazing representation. And it has a really interesting discussion on colonialism, as well as a relatable battle for Juliet, who's the main character, for having two clashing identities that so radically conflict with each other. But more on that later. So my favorite thing about this book is that it added so much more vehemence and character to Juliet. She's not idle, she's powerful, and at times impulsive. She's violent and very ruthless, and will do whatever it takes to keep who she loves safe. And she's also a genius, and she wears gorgeous sparkly dresses with a gun strapped to her thigh, so it's kind of impossible not to love her. And okay, the side characters. So interesting, such personality with actual inner struggles. They felt real, like their own people, and they weren't simply plot devices to move along the main characters, and that's so important for me. And they honestly stole the show all the time. So Marshall and Benedict, which you may be more familiar with Mercutio and Benvolio, were amazing to read. Chaotic, hilarious, just so funny. And Juliet's cousin Kathleen, so determined, and her struggles felt real and separate to Juliet, which I respect. And it's good that there were all these amazing characters, because disappointingly, Roma wasn't exactly what I was looking for. I still enjoyed him, I still like him, but I really wish he was just given more depth as a character. And at times it was really hard to pinpoint who he was. And I can't blame him for his personality literally just being obsessed with Juliet, because same. But I just wish the author gave maybe some more nuance. So, to be clear, I devoured this book. It was creepy, and it was eerie, and dramatic, and alluring. The corruption of 1920s, the flapper dresses, as well as the violence at the slip of a hand. And just getting lost in the wonderfully descriptive setting in Shanghai was just, like, so fun. Like, I cannot even explain. I do have a few criticisms, obviously. At times, the story felt a little slow, or the way the plot moving was strange. I enjoyed the beginning build-up a lot more than the conclusion, and I didn't love the whole monster thing that I hinted at earlier in the summary. I liked the mystery and the drama, but the monster aspect itself was just kind of weird. Although, I guess I should add, although the fictional monster is killing everyone in this story, the true monster, the one in real life, were the people draining Shanghai and its people for money, for resources, and to grab a hold of them. So I also think, like, separate from that, I think the monster was also, like, a type of symbolism for colonialism and a physical representation of it killing the citizens, which I respect, I guess. Okay, and I also have just a quote that I want to read, because just amazing. This place hums to the tune of debauchery. This city is filthy and deep in the thrall of unending sin, so saturated with the kiss of decadence that the sky threatens to buckle and crush all those living vivaciously beneath it in punishment. Anyway, like, whoa. The writing was just gorgeous. And just real quick, I'm going to jump back to the themes of the book that I was talking about earlier, and how it was so unapologetic about what it was talking about and the terror that colonialism brought on China, and just the entitlement and the power they handed themselves. So I have another quote. They have started calling America the land of dreams. A snort floats up into the clouds. It is a sound that exists incongruous with the rest of the anxiety seeping along this city's arteries. It is the only sound that epitomizes the land in question, somehow both charming and terrible, both dismissive and weighted down. The land of dreams, where men and women in white hoods roam the streets to murder black folks, where written laws prohibit the Chinese from stepping upon its shores, where immigrant children are separated from immigrant mothers on Ellis Island, never to be seen again. So just, like, a stunning, disturbing, wonderfully written book on all ends. I guess I'll just touch on the romance, like, really quickly. It was good, satisfying. It was cool, you know, tortured waiting and in stretched out seconds. Fun to read. Definitely not, like, my favorite thing about the book, although it wasn't, like, bad by any means. And the plot twists. Okay, so some were predictable and expected, but I will argue until I die that plot twists that make sense aren't necessarily bad. Like, they're logically built up, right? I think cheap plot twists are just really, like, they just ruin the story to get a quick gasp. And These Violent Delights thankfully did nothing like that. The ending was, like, concerning, and it left me wanting more, and I think that's all that a book should do. So to finish off this lengthy ramble, These Violent Delights is a beautifully written book. It has a few setbacks, but the book itself is such a wonderful piece of work that I cannot argue its brilliance. Like, it builds up to a brilliant crescendo that I just loved to read and enjoy. So I'm going to give it 4.5 stars as my final rating. And also, content warning, it's a very gory and violent book. It has explicit descriptions of violence. And if that's not your thing, I definitely avoid the book at all costs. Okay, thank you for listening. That was Alisha on Teen Talk. Hope you enjoyed.
It's Lori and Branwen, the Lori and Branwen Show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the debut episode of the Lori and Branwen Show. I'm Lori.
And I'm Branwen.
And today we are going to be talking about uncomfortable situations. Because, yeah, today we experienced a couple of uncomfortable things before coming into our session, so that's what I'd like to talk about. Today, on our way here, we stopped by the dollar store so I could grab a pair of different-looking pajama pants for our Spirit Week this week. I'm walking down the aisle, and there's a man in the middle of the way, so naturally, you do what your average Canadian does,
And say, excuse me.
And says, excuse me, because that's the right thing to do. But he looks down at me and just says, what's your name? You're cute. And I was like, what?
Boy, what a creep.
Yeah. Anyways, oops, I accidentally, oopsie.
Oopsie poopsie.
Absolutely never do that again. Right, but the point I'm trying to get to is that it's really weird. Like, what, I'm really curious to what compels someone to get up and just walk up to someone and say something like that. And not just anyone. Someone that's clearly much younger than you. I'm not that old. I'm in my last year of high school, and this guy is clearly...
like 30, and with a whole beard and all.
So yeah, and it's just, it's weird. That's what it is. It's just really weird. Also, some boys that were very young, clearly in junior high or like their first year of high school, also came up to me and asked for my number today. Yeah.
Those pubescent boys.
I know.
Sure, try and get...
Tell me about it. Them hormones. Know what I mean? As I mentioned earlier, we are in our last year of high school. And so we thought it would be nice to put a little bit of this segment into talking about...
reminiscing about our school career
right.
as a student.
Because, you know, we've spent 90% of our life in public school. So I feel like I feel like we should talk about it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's fun.
Yeah.
Let me think.
You know, my earliest, like, one of my favorite photos that I have on my computer at home, Lori, is of you, or it's a picture of me in a Cinderella dress with a St. Catherine's hat on, and you dressed up as a witch for Halloween. And you were in the back, and you just looked at the camera, and you were all like...
Okay. Here's the thing. Actually, let me talk about that real quick. Let's talk about that. Halloween. Halloween just passed. While we were recording this, it has been 3 days since Halloween. I didn't do anything for Halloween except work. I went to work, slept in a musty gym with a bunch of children overnight, and then got no sleep and went home. What is the deal with that?
Did you get paid at least?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I get paid tomorrow. But everyone was doing interesting Halloween things. And I guess kind of on the topic of school, it makes me a little sad that I never did anything for Halloween ever in my life. Like, I see all these people, they're like, oh yeah, Halloween every year, we can get dressed up. And I've just never had that kind of experience. I haven't dressed up since I was in primary, grade 1. I was a Power Ranger in grade 1.
You know what? Is it because you live in the middle of nowhere?
It is. There were no children in my neighborhood until I was like 12. And so there was nowhere to go trick-or-treating, basically, because there was nobody outside. Only just recently did we start having Halloween things in my neighborhood because it's actually finally starting to develop. But, yeah, high school. Or not even high school, just school in general. We didn't have a lot of a high school experience.
Yeah.
As you know.
We got affected by COVID pretty badly.
That being said, though, we are going to be thankful because we were in school most of the time. Mm-hmm. Like, we had the entire first half of grade 10, the entire first half of grade 11, and a little bit at the end.
Yeah.
And we're going to have all of grade 12. So,
yeah.
Actually, it's not so bad.
Talking about school and things, I'm going to talk about prom dresses for just a second.
Absolutely. I love to talk about prom dresses.
Why is it that literally the dresses cost more, like, a month's rent in, like, a one-bedroom or a studio apartment? Like, it's like $600 for a dress that you're going to wear, what, one night?
Yeah, I definitely...
What's that for?
Okay, I 100% intend to buy a dress that's, like, casual enough that I could wear again to, like, a semi-formal event, but still nice enough that I could wear to prom and people won't be like, that dress is, like, not giving at all. You know what I mean? It has to look cute.
Yeah. I'm going to wear a pantsuit because that's literally the cheapest option, you know? And it spices a little bit of my personality in there.
Right.
But,
While I am looking forward to the end of school and prom and things like that, it is a little crazy to think that we are going to have to figure out what we're going to do with our lives in a couple months. The deadline for applying to universities is in March so that we can get our first semester grades done. And so, obviously, because I'm regular teenager and I'm going to I'm going to procrastinate like everybody else, I am absolutely not applying until February.
Yeah.
I'll get in.
I probably will wait till, like, January. I think January would be a nice cutoff point because then, like, exams. And then February 1st, or February, like, whatever, we start second semester.
Right.
So it's just, like, you know,
I'm just trying to get my grades back so I can apply for university, and then they'll look at my grades and be like, wow, she's really smart, and then and then give me money so I go to school there.
The university I'm applying to only needs like a 70 average overall, and I'm already there. I'm at a 78 average.
Yeah.
Bow chicka wow wow.
Oh. Bow chicka wow wow. But I'm just, oh my goodness, because I don't even know if I'm gonna apply to university. I might take a gap year because I don't want to stress myself into making a decision that'll impact my entire life and then not like what I'm studying. I don't want to jump into university because everyone else is doing it and then be there and be like, oh my god, I hate what I'm studying. And then, you know, now I'm in debt and I'm not even finishing my degree and I'm wasting all this time. So I feel like I want to take a gap year, you know, find myself or whatever they do and, like, you know, figure out what I want to study.
Yeah.
And I'll be 17 when I graduate. I should take the entire year and go to university at 18 like a regular person.
Yeah. It's like, what's it gonna, like, what harm's it gonna do to take a gap year? Because literally we'll be the same age as we're supposed to be.
Yeah. And I can work and make money and not have so much student loans to pay off, because people are paying off their student loans for their entire life, and it makes me feel so bad. I don't want to live with that kind of stress every single day. I don't know how I would do that. But, you know, at the same time, I'm really excited to move on to this new chapter of life. And it went so fast. Like, I know when you're in elementary, you're like, oh, I can't wait to be a big kid. I want to go to junior high. Then you hit junior high and boom, you're done. We went on our trip to Montreal at the end of grade 9. And then next thing you know, I'm graduating high school.
Yeah.
This is so insane. Like, the time has been going so fast.
The last normal year we had was grade 9. So.
Isn't that insane?
That's incredibly insane. So, like, all of our memories are going to be of, like, grade 9. And it's going to feel like it's been, like, a year. Yeah. But really, it's been, like, 3. Which is terrifying, because some of the kids we used to be book buddies for are now, like, in junior high.
I know.
And I'm like, where'd you grow up? Like, how'd you grow up so fast?
I know. I was at provincials for cross country the other day, and I look over and I realize that these kids that used to be, like, you know, little kids are now my age and competing at Oxford for provincials and stuff like that. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, we actually grew up. Everyone's getting old. And I know this sounds stupid, like, duh, everyone's getting older, but do you know, like, you should know what I mean. Like, we're getting older so fast, and because of COVID, it feels like it's sped up the process, while simultaneously it's been the longest, like, 2 years of my entire life. It's just insane to know that I just went, high school's done now. I don't have any core memories of high school at all.
No.
It's so unfortunate. And I was romanticizing it to the point that it makes me sad. Like, you know what I mean? You see all those glamorized high school movies, and they're always like, oh my gosh, and boyfriends and drama and football. Listen, girl, never date someone on a football team. If you're listening to this and you're in high school and there's a cute guy on the football team, don't do it. I did it. Don't do it. Anyways.
He turned it a little.
Yeah. But we're not talking about people right now because we're talking about ourselves.
Yeah.
And, you know, I made a lot of friends in high school.
Yeah.
It helped me, I guess, figure out who I am a little bit as a person, but not, like, academically. Like, I still don't know what I want to study. I don't know what I want to do with my life.
Yeah.
But I hope that'll just come to me.
Yeah.
And we'll be able to figure it out.
Yeah. Okay. I think you summed it up pretty well.
Yeah.
Today.
That was good.
Yeah.
And we actually were able to talk for, like,
a good 10 minutes.
Thank you guys for listening, and tuning into our segment of the library's podcast, please come back and listen to the Lori and Branwen show whenever you can.
Yeah.
We love to have you here. We love to have someone to talk to.
Yeah.
Branwen, you want to hit the outro?
Yeah. So, thanks for listening, guys. So I'm Branwen.
I'm Lori.
And thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Boom.